Welcome to the Teacher's Guide to B.E.S.T Tiered Instruction. This video will focus on Grade 5, Benchmark NSO 1.2, which is to read and write multi-digit numbers with decimals to the thousandths using standard form, word form, and expanded form. Students should have already had practice with this in Grade 4 with whole numbers, so 5th grade is just an extension using decimals. Start by utilizing a blank place value chart along with some place value labels to have students put them in the correct order and positions. I've also included some place value discs to help students with the visual. Then generate a random number using digit cards or a dice. Have students then create the expanded form thinking about the digit, the place value that it's in, and then the value that that digit now has. Here I've also included another expanded form that would include the zeros in the blank place values. Having both of them might help students with the word form. I've also included the word "and" to demonstrate that when we get to the decimal, it's important that students now include the word "and." In whole numbers, sometimes they would say 513, but now that we are in decimals, we do have a whole and a part. I've also included the stems ending with the suffix "teen" and "t" because some students might still be struggling with 13 versus 30 and what that looks like. The place value cards will also help them with word form because whichever digit they say last, then we need to include that place value that it lands in. That was not the case with whole numbers. Give students opportunities where there is 0 on the whole side and just focus on naming the decimal side. In these instances, they will not see the word "and" because there is no whole. There's only a part to name. Opportunities like this also lead them into discovering that there is more than one way to read a decimal. Here, we've included a 0 in the decimal side on the end. Students have to have the understanding that a 0 is important because it tells us there's nothing in that place value, but in decimals, the zeros in the smaller place values can also be removed or not included when I'm doing expanded form or in word form. This would change how I read the decimal. In expanded form, students are also having the expectation of writing it with a fraction as well as a decimal, so I've included both of those in this example. In this instance, we can either say 51, or we could read the whole decimal as 510 thousandths, but also making sure I'm exposing them to understand I don't have to say that 0 because it doesn't change the value of the 5 and the 1. Here in this graphic organizer, I'm giving students exposure to all of the forms that they are expected to demonstrate within this benchmark. There's a spot in the middle for them to continue to model the decimal as needed, as a scaffold, but that modeling would lead them to help them with the value the digit has in that place value, which then would lead them to that expanded form. So here they're able to do the expanded form based on place value, and then beneath that they could also then do the expanded notation using decimal, multiplication, or fractions. This graphic organizer was adapted from the Florida DOE Big M standards. To help further with word form, you could have students do the digit and then what place value they would need to say, which might help it a little bit more to relate it back to whole number work. Again, the most important thing that students usually struggle with is understanding that after I've read the number as is, 76, I need to include what place value it landed in on the decimal side. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you learned a few new strategies that you can use with your students in order for them to be successful. Remember that this work was already done, so if you want to go see some more strategies to help students, you could look at the 4th grade video or even the 3rd grade, depending on what your students need. If you have any other things to share, feel free to leave a comment. Thanks.